All right. Hey, I think we're live. Let me check my signal here, see if we're going. I'm going to get some artwork done today. Let's see. Chunk, 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 chunk. Drop into here. Yep, sounds good. Drop the volume down there. Hit the button. I'm going to do some social media posting here real quick, and I'll go through an intro with you guys, and then we'll get started. So get some artwork done for maybe about an hour or so this morning. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and I publish them online. I create content for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition currently. I publish it on the DMsGuild. I've been an active DM since 1987. I have been a freelance illustrator since '99. And I've been an Eberron enthusiast since 2004. And I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2018. But I've yet to publish an actual adventure. So we're currently rectifying that situation with Crystals of Mabara. You can see here on screen is the cover. This is for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition 2024. 4 to 5 characters, a level 7 or 8. Coincidentally, 5 characters at 7th level requires just about the exact same amount of experience points as 4 8th level characters, and the level of the amount of monsters, the experience points of accumulated monsters and encounters is like 100 or so experience points off from each other. So if you're looking at doing mid-level adventure stuff, 7th, 8th level is a really good zone to be able to have like stable statistics, because they don't gain additional spell level power. You're kind of between feats. So 7th and 8th level is like a really nice sweet spot for mid-power level characters to be able to just, kick around a dungeon and have fun. So let me fix my screen here real quick. There we go. Here on YouTube, hey, what's up? Wow, new subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. Here's the entire place of all 391 episodes where we've created all the maps, creature tokens, and now we're doing the page art. We also we design the books. We build them out, we play test them, and then when they're finished, we send them off to an editor who chews on it, who sends it back to us. While the editor's chewing on it, we create the book cover. So we created this one. You'll see this on DMsGuild like such. And once the editor's done, we start doing page layouts. And once the page layouts are done, we start filling in the gaps with art. So we're using a 16:9 format for this piece. If you check episode 390, you'll see me basically like full sizing this so you can see how it fits on your device. But I use a 16:9 format here as well. And so you can see how well this fits inside that space. And each column is 16:9 format as well. So you can look at the full page, and then you can turn it upward to look at one column at a time. And the font size is 12-point font. So most people with normal vision, even just on a cell phone, will be able to read the document column by column. And when we're creating ideas throughout the book, each column, like you don't start a thought and then like mid-sentence drop over to the next section. Generally, each page is either its own complete thought, or there's like a natural breath between the paragraphs from one column into the next. So it's just the information just flows from document to document, and so you can take in a whole page as a piece of art, if you would, horizontally, or if you're on a desktop or on a tablet, you can have it sitting horizontally. You can just turn through page by page very easily. If you're on a cell phone or a smaller device, you're on the go, and you don't have that much space available or tech, then you can just turn it vertically, and you can read one column at a time, and then flip one column at a time, and then flip. So that's the format that we're working with. And right now we are creating an image of an undead horde under the command of a Yugoloth overlord. So I actually want to make this dude a smidge bigger. There. So we have the rough line art you can see here is faded. And now I'm going over again in a cleaner layer. And it doesn't have, zombies undead like this, they don't have to be perfect. But we want to have, I want to have enough detail and information so that I can then drop color behind it like comic book cell shading. And then once we have the cell shading done, we can go in and let's see if I can find. Where's my page? Hold on. There we go. This is the last thing that we did. If you've been around for a little while, you saw that I was working on this piece last week. So this is kind of where we end up with pieces. I also use this corner. Like I use these corners a lot, and the mid plane for me to drop illustrations in because it doesn't get in the way of the information clustering. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of level burp 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 burp. There, full tablet presentation. Decent little spot illustration. If you wanted to zoom in on the column specifically, there you go. Anyway, let's get back to actual work. I got about an hour or so this morning, and I'm going to have I do a design stream. We're currently building a Bastion campaign system that will be published on DMsGuild that takes the Bastions from D&D 2020, DMG 2024. And converts the Bastion system as presented is it's a social interaction system for characters to have a hideout or a lair, basically a base of operations where they can perform research, craft items, stuff like that. And the way it's presented in the DMG is as a social interaction. The three pillars: there's combat, exploration, and social interaction. And social interaction generally doesn't require any kind of checks, like die rolls to resolve. You can have a conversation with somebody without having to roll any dice to have that conversation. And so that's the approach that Wizards had taken with the use of Bastions, because they don't want it to be, it's not designed to be the focus of adventuring. It's just a backdrop and kind of a thing that you can do with their 3D Unreal Engine assets. Once they get that thing up and running, you can, make a map of your Bastion and then play Sims and populate it. But the way that I like to run Bastions in my campaigns, and like I said, I've been DMing since 1987, so I have a lot of experience with the old school style of playing D&D with like the sense of dominion. Hold on, I just had a gravity issue come into effect. There. I've got a fire kicking in the background. It's crackling a little bit, so you might hear the occasional bug snap in the heat. So I've already blessed their death, so don't worry about it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to ramble about Bastions a little bit. Anyway, the point is that I stream on lunchtime and Thursday evenings, and my lunch times are typically going to be on Fridays and Tuesdays, and then either Mondays or Wednesdays, depending on what my workload is like. So I was not here on Monday. I will be streaming today, but my schedule at work is going to require I will be working on Bastions at noon today, Seattle time. So that'll be in about 5 hours from now. We'll be back on for about an hour or so to continue developing the Bastion system, which is basically, it takes the idea that Wizards had of Bastion and renews the concept of Dominion style play from the old BECME first edition style, converting your facilities of the Bastion into basically ability checks that you either pass without issue and do the thing that you wanted to do, or if you fail the die roll, creating complications that become sources of adventure, like adventure hooks. So like if you want to hire this Sphinx to become a sage at your archive, it might require, if you fail the die roll, and like a Sphinx is like a CR9 creature, so it's like a DC 20 to hire it just off the cuff. And if you're capable of hiring it, then Like you should be around a 3rd rank guild to be able to lure that level of a creature in as a servant of your bastion. So you'd have probably like a D20 plus 3 plus a D8. So you'll have anywhere from a 5 to 35. Is that right? 28 plus 3, 21, 31. You have anywhere from a 5 to 31 is the range that you'll be able to pull on your ability checks using the Bastion D20 tests. And so you've got basically like a 40% chance of successfully getting that Sphinx to immediately agree that working for you is a good idea. And if you fail the check, then it'd be willing to work with you, except it needs X, Y, or Z. And X, Y, or Z could be any number of things, like an exotic item, and a guaranteed minimum level of lifestyle that your Bastion can maintain for it to be comfortable. It might require a certain degree of archive, like you need to have 3 points invested in increasing, like the vastness of your archive needs to be a certain size, and if it isn't, then you have to renovate until it is. That could become a crafting resolution for your guild to basically hire workers to build the place out the way to the Sphinx specifications. Or it could require a magic item just as a bribe to get it to work with you for like a year or even just a season. So it could be seasonal contracts. These creatures are willing to work with you for a 3-month period of time, at the end of which they'll renegotiate their position there at your Bastion. So that becomes new recruiting roles that you would make to retain. Like, they could be thrilled to be there and there's no complications at all, or they could be like, yeah, I hate the cook, I want him fired. It's like, but Scruffy is awesome. No one wants to see Scruffy. No, not Scruffy. No. And now you have to resolve the Scruffy conflict. So it's just an adventure hook generator for you to use your Bastion as the primary source of adventure hooks in your campaign. Lean into it as much as you want to, or at worst, what it does is it codifies a lot more like what you can do with each facility. And so if you're investing resources into to sustain, to maintain these facilities, even if you just want to use the automatically succeed style, you can slide it back to that level of play. But now you've got a lot more stuff that you can offer to do with the Bastion than what's presented in DMG, because I have unlimited space to be able to go into vast detail about these topics, while Wizards had about 20 pages. So I in no way fault them for that. They are attempting to introduce the power fantasy of having dominion over the world in which you're in, that you can lean into as much as you want, and we're providing you with methods to do that. We're also playtesting the martial power system on Monday nights. So it's a mana system for all 13 classes in the D&D game currently in 2025. And there. I'm about ready to move on to the next guy, I think. Let me get this here. And so I tested my home campaign at the end of my last campaign. I run campaigns from level 1 to 20 in about 250-ish hours. And the last campaign that I completed with my home table, we started using martial powers around 16th level, and at the high levels it worked great. It was super fun. You don't need to worry nearly as much about balance at the high levels as you do at the low levels, because just the amount of power that can be thrown around by full casters. Like, when you can cast Wish, your fighter can do pretty much anything once a day. So you don't have to worry about it so much, as long as you're statistically staying in curve with what other classes can do. You've got a lot of breadth to work with at the 4th tier of play. It's the first 10 levels that you really need to make sure that you're doing it right. So we're running a mega dungeon from level 1 to 10 right now. We're currently 3rd to 10th level, and we're currently about to hit 4th level. So we just started the testing, and we'll be continuing with that probably into July. One thing that you'll learn about my channel if you decide to stick around is that I am not in a hurry. This is not my day job. I do not rely on the algorithms of YouTube for the type of content that I create. I make books. I illustrate them and I publish them online, and I show you as much of the process. Layouts are a little boring because it's like, scoot this text, like how do I need to reword this sentence like 5 times to make it fit inside this space properly? That's a lot of the annoyance that that you deal with when you're doing page layouts, and that is not necessarily very exciting content, I have discovered. So I occasionally tag in and work on page layouts a little bit, just so you guys can get a taste of like the monotony that goes along with that. I'm actually still working on the layouts for this adventure. I'm about 60% of the way done, and with God's grace, I will have all of the I'll have everything done except for the creature menagerie section, because with the new monster manual coming out for 2024, that publishing next month, like in a matter of like 3 or 4 weeks. Once that publishes, we'll have an opportunity to revisit the monsters that we have in this book to make sure that they feel the way that 2024 feels, so that it remains compliant with the content that we're working with. And but if everything runs smoothly, by the time that publishes, that's the only part of the book that we need to do layouts on. And currently, because I have to do so much layout work, and the 16:9 format was not something I was originally, I was kind of thinking about, but I hadn't really like committed to. But once I started getting into it, it's like, yeah, this seems, because this is not a book that I intend to ever print, and I don't see colors. So when I do color art, I have to use my RGB slider over here in the right hand corner. This is my color vision. That's all the color I get to see. So when I design artwork, I'm using light, I'm using values, and I don't know how the printing process is going to impact the look of the art. So that kind of limits what I can do to either print work in black and white, or if I'm going to work in color, it's going to be for a PDF only. So the DMsGuild doesn't offer print to everyone, and although I qualify for it because of the success I've had with the books I've published, you can see a bunch of them down below. They all have free previews. Check them out. Although I have that success underneath me, if I start doing full color art for print products, I would have a very difficult time working with the proofs. Like the CMYK formatting is something that I legitimately struggle with, and that is a shortcoming of mine that I think has cost me more than 1 gig in the freelance industry. So I got to a point where I was like, well, you know what, maybe I should just make my own books, so I don't have to worry about whether it's going to be in print or not, and I can take the time that I want to make the things that I want, instead of having to work trying to find contractors to hire me. So back in the early 2000s, when all the print on demand first became available to make PDFs on demand, it was too expensive to work in color, so everyone was working in black and white, and that's how I got into freelance illustration, because I was on an equal footing with all of these little indie creators. A color eventually became possible, like around, I want to say color became pretty common for indies probably like around 2005. And that was also about the same time that broadband internet access became worldwide available. So I was now competing in a color space against the entire world, instead of just black and white in America. So my audience drastically, my competition became global, and they were all able to do color. Why can't? So that led me to adapt into moving into character commissions. And once that became overly competitive, then I got depressed for a while and focused on my out of life career, and then I started getting the itch to create again, and I dropped back into creating. At that point, 5th edition had come out in the 2014 plus, so I started getting into 5e, and by 2018 I was publishing my own books. The solution I came up with is, if I'm having a hard time finding clients that can operate within my parameters at a price point that I want, maybe I need to stop selling art, and I need to instead start selling books with my art in it, so I can pay myself for the work that we're doing here with the sales of the books that I create. And as long as I create cool books, I can feel rewarded in that sense. And so that is what drove me to creating content for the DMs Guild, because I'm a huge fanboy of D&D since 1987, and it was a dream to be a Wizards of the Coast artist, but with the limitations that I have, I knew it wasn't going to happen. So life found a way, and that's my story. That's my backstory, guys. So there you go. So I'm pretty obsessed with creating content. I have this huge childhood chip on my shoulder of never feeling good enough because of my limitations, and that is converted into work ethic that causes me to just want to drive through and pardon the pun, drive through RPG. That compels me to create content and prove that even I can make cool shit. So I have to think a little bit differently, and so that leads to me creating unique type of products. Anyway, that's, like I said, that's my origin story. So instead of becoming a supervillain, I became an artist. So yeah, bashing campaigns, because my schedule this week is a little weird. I'm going to be streaming in about 5 hours for that. I'll stream for about an hour and a half, and then I'll kick and go finish my day. I'll be back tomorrow morning to do more artwork like this, and I will be back Thursday night to work on probably Bastions for a few hours. Monday, coincidentally, is a holiday, so I shan't have, I don't have work, so I don't have a time frame to stop, so I can put in a few hours here on Monday morning with Bastions, with the Eberron art. I can come back at lunchtime and work on Bastions, and Monday night is when we have the Martial Powers play testing. And so I've been building that out, and that. Basically, like in the fight, I build mega dungeons in zones. Basically, every 5 to 10 rooms or so is its own zone, so I can change the motif of what's being explored. Either change the type of environment, the type of creatures, or have a unique aspect. Like I've been building out a number of zones for our testers, because I want to stay ahead. I want to make sure I have plenty of distance ahead. I'm going to rearrange myself in my chair. I want to make sure that my tempo of creating dungeon space from level 3 to 10 stays far enough ahead of the team that by the time, like if they catch me off guard and move faster than I thought they would, that I've got the content there, they don't have to worry about the world buffering for them next week. But the further out I build, the more I get to contemplate where they're heading and what have they encountered already that can help me sculpt the narrative of the creatures that they're going to encounter in the future that might be aware of what the players have already done. So that sculpts that'll affect how they respond to the players. And I might get the idea of like, oh, I really love this. Like we've got this torture cult temple that they found that they're basically clearing undead out of. So as we continue forward and they engage with, like, if they're like delightfully oohed by the way that all of the undead have their eyes slashed because they impale their eyes on ritual spikes, thus blinding themselves to see the greater truth of what their dark god promises. As that, like that's something that was creepy to them in a delightful sort of way. So I can lean into that blindness motif and create areas like with magical darkness that the devout can navigate, but the infidels would have difficult dealing with in defending in trying to raid the temple if it's steeped in darkness. All of the cultists have like the blind fighting feat, right? So that affects the behavior of how the dungeon reacts to the players or the world around it. And so when you have a procedural campaign, and mega dungeons are so awesome at being procedural, because you literally have to attack the place one room at a time. And as long as you have more rooms than you have time, you can always stay ahead. But yeah, so you can continue to adapt the dungeon to go in directions that are interesting to the team and introduce new factions, or like have a section of the dungeon open up. Like I've got an earthquake thing that's going on. So at any time I can collapse or open new chambers that may or may not have been there before, but as new ideas hit me, I can literally just open a space and have that available for characters to start exploring. So that's one of the great things about mega dungeons, is that because they delve so deep into the earth, you can use like natural hazards and terrain and stuff like that to create interesting opportunities. And I'm rambling a little bit, so I'm gonna fall silent for a second. Probably take a sip of coffee. I'm pretty happy with this undead. He's looking pretty cool. But I think I want to make this bottom section a little bit bigger. You're looking good there, dude. I need to resize. I think I need to resize the skull a little bit more. It's a little bit big. One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, this guy is 1, 2. Yeah, this guy's properly proportioned. Groovy. So I can. I'm done with that guy, so I can resize him a little bit. Let's see, front line. We'll call him 2. We're gonna make number 2 just a little bit bigger. I like to keep the remnant sketch art underneath it. Hold on. Yeah, I like to keep this background underlying grit information in the piece because it helps add additional, what's the right word? Like, it just adds extra texture that I can use once I go into the coloring process. I can use that remnant stuff to add incidental texture and details that I hadn't considered. So like it just kind of folds into the motif of it. So I'm using word salad right now. Don't mind me. But what I do want to do is make sure I have this fitting inside its space properly. Quick transform. Get that lined up. Much cleaner now. And we'll do a cleanup when we go through. Again, we'll color underneath the line art like comic book shading, cell shading, and then we'll merge the color to the line art, and so we'll drop the opacity here. We'll drop this down with the color in the background, and then we'll blend it all. We'll merge the art together, and we'll blend the line art into the color so that it is less comic booky and more semi-real, just to diffuse it in for texturing. So we'll go through all that process here once we get the line art all completed. So we got number 2 there. I'm going to drop this guy down for a bit so he doesn't overwhelm who we're going to work on next, which is going to be number 1. We'll call you 1. We'll take you down to 25%. Build out the skull face here. So fun. I used to spend so much time in high school drawing zombies and skeletons, and my parents were concerned for a little while that I was going to be some sort of a broken soul. Well, I am, but I found, like I said, I decided to become an artist instead of a supervillain, so humanity is safe from me. I had bridge work done. I had my 4 front teeth replaced with a permanent bridge about 2 years ago. That feels about right. And I was streaming artwork back then. So if you check out my earlier, like my very earlier vids on this channel, you're gonna see me smiling with like this gap in the front of my teeth like a little kid. That was fun, but you can see that. And then once I got my grill. Yeah, so I have a normal smile again. God damn, dental work is really cool. They grafted bone, like they have this. There's like this. It's like I think it's like a birch wood that is porous that you can insert into your mouth. You can insert this wood into a skeletal frame, and the bone, when it regrows, it consumes the wood and replaces it with bone materials. So it's like it's this weird organic lattice that you can build inside of people to help reconstruct bone. It's really interesting. I am overheating, so that fire is starting to kick on me. I want to create. Ironically, I'm going to open the door to create a little bit more. Help cool the room a little bit. I'm in Seattle, and California is still on fire. So we're starting to have, you can see down here, we have a fog effect, but it smells It has the smell of ember on it. It smells burnt. So I suspect